Hello, I'm Jared Taylor with American Renaissance. The Soviet Union is gone, but it's not forgotten. I've been thinking about the way it treated political dissidents in the 1960s and 70s. Those were people who disagreed with official dogma, people who refused to believe that the Soviet Union was paradise. Sometimes they were treated as criminals and shot or just sent to labor camps, but some were treated as if they had a mental illness. You see, the theory was Marxism was so self-evidently true that you had to be insane not to believe in the Soviet system. The United States has an official dogma, just like the Soviet Union. If you think race is a biological reality, if you think diversity is a weakness, if you prefer a community or a nation of whites, then you're a racist. You're a dissident. And just like in the Soviet Union, some people think you have a mental illness. Every one of the Democrats who want to be president will tell you racism is just about the worst problem the country faces. They'd love to cure this disease. This Slate article asks, is racism a disease? It fantasizes about a pill that a doctor could use to cure you. Here is an article in a SAGE publication called Medicalizing Racism. It notes that psychologists have names for this condition, such as intolerant personality disorder or pathological bias. The Soviets had a name for the mental illness of their dissidents. They called it sluggish schizophrenia. Naming it makes it real, right? On the next page of the same article, a doctor is handing out a prescription to cure racism. Well, science marches on. Some people think the drug propranolol can make you less suspicious of people of other races, less racist. Propranolol is used to treat high blood pressure and anxiety and is thought to block parts of the nervous system that deal with external threats. Researchers at Oxford claim that if you feed people this stuff, they score lower on a test that's supposed to measure racism. Sylvia Turbeck, who wrote this up in the journal Psychopharmacology, claimed that her findings were, in her words, of considerable ethical interest. The Daily Beast was excited. Can the heart and blood pressure pill propranolol cure racism? And here's another headline for you. Disabling parts of the brain with magnets can weaken faith in God and change attitudes to migrants, study finds. Well, that's a twofer for the liberals. The trick was to send strong magnetic currents right through the skull to a part of the brain called the posterior medial frontal cortex, the PMFC, as it's known to its friends. It decides to respond to threats. Well, if the PMFC has been disabled, you ignore the threat. In this what me worry state of mind, you believe less strongly in God and don't care about outsiders. As the scientists explained in a paper, they experimentally decreased both avowed belief in God and outgroup derogation, that means being suspicious of outsiders, by down-regulating PMFC activity via transcranial magnetic stimulation. The results provide the first evidence that group prejudice and religious beliefs are susceptible to targeted neuromodulation. Are you ready for a little neuromodulation? Earlier this year, Salon published an article called Racism on the Brain. A neuroscientist explains how the world moved right. Nice photo, don't you think? Salon wanted to know whether there are, and I quote, drugs that could be used to medicate and otherwise help malignant racists. The neuroscientist, someone named Bobby Azarian, says it's too early in our understanding of the brain to try a pharmacological treatment for racism. So, we're not quite there, not yet anyway. And of course, you don't actually have to do anything to be racist. All it takes is a few words to prove you have intolerant personality disorder. Google could track what you do online and decide that you're a racist. Remember the stories about Google figuring out that women were pregnant before they knew it themselves? Even lefties are worried about some of this stuff. Marxist Slavoj Žižek is one of the world's most famous philosophers. He wants to know who will control merged human-AI digital space. He says, never forget that attempts to control us always begin like this. We will be automatically checked up, controlled for our health, but also for our purchases, for our political opinions, for our voting, and so on. A computer will literally know us better than we know ourselves. Well, lefties already think they know who's a racist. With artificial intelligence, nobody could hide. And when they catch bad white people, why not forcibly cure them? It's a public health issue. The authorities can quarantine you if you have cholera or diphtheria. And what's cholera compared to racism? As it happens, there is a group of people who score close to 0 on tests for racism. And you know why? They have a neurological disorder, a genetic defect called Williams syndrome. It's a mild form of retardation. The part of the brain that deals with threats doesn't work. For these people, everyone seems like a friend. They have complete trust in total strangers. It's a nightmare for their parents. But they are the only people in the world for whom race really doesn't matter. If lefties had their way, and if there was some chemical or magnetic or surgical way to do it, I bet they'd be happy to give someone like me the equivalent of Williams syndrome. They want to take healthy people and turn them into defectives. That's where you end up when you think the most dangerous and horrifying thing anyone could be is whatever it is they call racist. Race realism is not dangerous. It's not a mental disorder or a condition that needs to be cured. It's common sense. It's the truth. And it's the key to recovering our dignity as a people and restoring our country and the entire West to greatness. Thanks for watching. Please subscribe to our YouTube channel. Also, you might take a look at our podcast channel. That's at Amran Podcasts. Also, we have a website at amren.com, amren.com.